The pictures of this presentation were taken by Claude Wayne Hap Arnold, who served in the 2nd RSM from October 1952 through March 1955 as a radio intercept operator on ATRIC, and was edited in February the year 2000. This part of the video attempts to show just part of the life and times of the airmen who served in the 2nd Radio Squadron Mobile at Ludwig Concern and Cambrai Concern in Darmstadt, Germany from 1949 through 1955. Those airmen who were chosen to become radio operators were transferred to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi to continue through radio operator school. The expression on our face the first day in code class when we first heard International Morse code at the basic code speed, 4 words a minute, must have looked something like this. Remember this sound? Were you able to copy that message? We were able to complete radio operator school, and to our great surprise, we passed 20 or more words a minute in code. How many of us can copy 20 words per minute now? After graduation, we were then shipped to Germany and the 2nd RSM. Let's go back in time to 1949 through 1955, when we arrived in Frankfurt for the truck ride to Darmstadt and the 2nd RSM. Many of us arrived in Frankfurt at this facility, the Bahnhof in Frankfurt. I'm sure you remember the architectural design of the train stations in Germany. This is the front of the Bahnhof in Frankfurt at the time when we arrived in the early 50s. I'm sure you also remember riding the trolleys or streetcars around town to get from one place to another. Very economical way of traveling. Those of us who arrived at the 2nd during 1952 were housed at Ludwig Concern. I remember at that time, although we were dealing with secret and top secret information, we were allowed to carry our headsets back and forth to the squadron area from the operations building. Speaking of headsets, do these look familiar? Remember the original ones we wore without the cushions on the ears? Nice and comfortable for an 8-hour shift, weren't they? Those headsets had to be plugged into something. Remember the 2 receivers we listened to? One was the Collins, and I believe the other was a Hamelin 600 in order to receive the code. This is a real Hamelin 600, just like the ones we used in the 2nd.
This is the code test transmission for 20 words per minute code.
Is Hap Arnold really listening to code at that speed and dreaming that he can still copy at that speed? He forgot his typewriter and a pad of paper, I believe. I wonder how many of us could take code at that speed now. pencil and paper out, give it a shot. We didn't spend all of our time working. If you were at Ludwig, no doubt you spent some time in the Blue Note Club. Remember the bingo games? This get-together was Bobby Bolt's birthday party. Left to right at the table, Don Riggs, Hap Arnold, Bobby Bolt, and Richard Campbell. Standing is waitress Annalisa. One thing I'm sure we all missed was the jingling of the change in our pocket. Of course, as soon as we arrived in Germany at the second, we had to convert our greenbacks to script money. It took some getting used to get used to paper nickels, dimes, and quarters. If we bought anything on the German market, we had to change our script for German marks. Remember, the currency exchange was 4 marks to a dollar. Today the exchange is about 1.9 marks per dollar. We can't buy a steak in Darmstadt today for $1.50. I'm sure you remember downtown Darmstadt and the Leysen Plaza. This is the Ludwig Monument. Most of us have driven around or walked around this monument many times in downtown Darmstadt. After a short time at Ludwig, we moved to Cambrai-Kaserne. This sign identifying the second stood in front of the artillery room. Of course, everyone in the squadron had to go to the artillery room at one time or another to either work, to have special orders cut for leave, or various other reasons. No military installation can function without a motor pool. If we needed to get a Jeep or a deuce and a half to go somewhere, we had to take care of that at our motor pool. And I'm sure we all remember our squadron mess hall. All the good chow we had there. One good thing about that mess hall, when we were in the second, we didn't have to pull KP. During the holidays, we got a little extra time at lunchtime if we happened to work. Sergeant Scarapino made sure we always had a big feed at Christmas time. This was Christmas 1952 at the 2nd RSM. For several months, we were transported to and from the operations building in a deuce and a half. Sure did get cold in the middle of January. However, later we went to work in style in this bus. Most often you could see a group of airmen practicing and playing volleyball while on break. Must be practicing for the Volleyball Olympics. I believe there was always a big game going on at that volleyball court. Of course, not everyone wanted to play the game of volleyball. Some just wanted to lounge around for a while and relax. Become a spectator. The guys on C-Trick wanted a more active game, so they decided to organize a good game of hopscotch. This lady was the first female member of the 2nd RSM. The sign in front of her says reserved. I wonder who for. Looks like Bobby Bolt and Dave Erdahl are sightseeing downtown Darmstadt. Looks like it might be cold also. If you ever saw Don Riggs in a serious mode like this, you'd better get it on film.